The Colorado Buffaloes are looking to win 2 straight. I'm going to tell you exactly what they need to do to make sure they beat Stanford on Friday.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. This is Locked On Buffs, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every single day for free right here. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to check us out. I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. We're talking about the keys to winning for Colorado tomorrow which is Friday, against Stanford. Obviously, Colorado had a big, I would say, ugly win against Arizona State. I don't think it was their best showing, but a win is a win nonetheless. In the win column, it doesn't show how you won. It just shows that you won. And so I think Arizona State kind of pushed Colorado more than they thought they would, or maybe Colorado just wasn't as prepared for Arizona State as maybe one would have hoped. But Colorado has another test this week. So they went from playing the two top programs in the Pac-12 in Oregon and USC, or two of the top programs, to then going to face the bottom feeders in Arizona State and Stanford, who at the time were both 1-4. Stanford's 1-4 still because they had their bye. And I think there's a lot to be said that although Colorado is looking like a very good team and a much better team than both of those teams, they could still get caught sleeping. They could still get caught lacking, just like any team in college football. It's kind of a Pac-12 After Dark special, Friday the 13th. In Boulder at night. Stanford's coming to town. Stanford's a frisky team that, while they have a lot of issues, which I've talked about over the past couple of days with you guys, they are a team that has played teams closely. They almost beat Arizona. They led Oregon at one point 6-0 and were kind of controlling the game and controlling the line of scrimmage until Oregon just kind of overpowered them because they're a better team. But this Stanford team is much better than their record indicates. I don't think this is a Pac-12 conference that anyone could take lightly. And so I'm going to give you my keys to Colorado winning the game. For starters, protect Shedeur Sanders. As someone who covers Stanford and follows them closely, I would say when they're able to get pressure on the quarterback, they are their most effective. So obviously they weren't able to get a lot of pressure on Bo Nix. They lose 42-6. Week prior, though, they get a lot of pressure on Jayden de Laura, who's a pretty mobile guy. I would say him and Shedeur are mobile-ish in the same sense where they can run, but they're not like true, like they're not like Bo Nix or Caleb Williams, who are going to take off and hurt you with their legs constantly. Now, granted, Shedeur has had some big runs. It's just not in his game, typically. Like he'd prefer to stay in the pocket and throw the ball, whereas other quarterbacks will like to run. So Stanford got to Jayden de Laura a few times. They got to him, I want to say 2 or 3 times, and they ended up losing that game by 1 point. There was a couple missed field goals that kind of prevented Stanford from winning that game as key plays. But Colorado needs to protect Shedeur Sanders. David Bailey, number 23 for Stanford, I believe, 4 sacks on the year. He had 2 last year as a freshman, and now he's taken that next step, it looks like. And so if Colorado is unable to protect or block David Bailey from getting to Shedeur Sanders, it's going to make life hard for Shedeur. And Stanford secondary, while they have, it's hard to look at the stats for certain teams and be like, oh, this team's not good. I would say the same is true for Colorado. You look at their defense and you're like, oh, statistically, they are the worst defense in the pack, or the Power 5. But they have big moments. They make big plays. Stanford's defense is similar. They have solid players in the secondary who can cover a receiver and who can pick off a pass or two. It's just when it comes down to the entirety of their defense, they obviously get eventually worn down and torn apart, which makes life difficult for them and makes their rankings look worse than they are. So protect Shedeur Sanders, make sure he stays healthy, make sure he has time to deliver the ball downfield. Establish the run. Stanford has struggled to stop the run, and it's not like I don't think their run defense is anything bad. It's just if a team is able to establish the run and make life difficult on them, obviously it makes their chances of winning the game go down exponentially because they currently rank, let me pull it up right here, Stanford, they currently rank 68th in the country in rushing defense. But if you look at how they did against USC and Oregon, which were their 2 biggest losses, let's see. Oregon ran for, I think it was nearly 300 yards of offense. Let's see. Yep. So Oregon, or not 300 yards. Oregon ran for 208 yards, and then USC ran for, because they lost 56-10 to USC. USC ran for a whopping 180. So if you could establish the run against them, and which Colorado has been trying to establish the run, Anthony Hankerson has stepped up. Alton McCaskill, Coach Prime kind of made it seem like he's going to play this week, but I'll believe that when I see it. Not that I doubt Coach Prime. I just don't think that the running back rotation at Colorado is what we thought it would be. We thought it'd be like this 1-2 punch of Kavosi Smoke and Alton McCaskill, and it's more like a 1-2 like looky loo, I guess. I don't know. It's just not special at all. It's more of like Anthony Hankerson will come in, power for about 4 yards a carry, and then Dylan Edwards, they try to run him in between the tackles and get him into open space. And it's just not what we thought it would be prior to the season. I thought it would be one of their strongest position groups. But if they can establish the run, they can win the game. Also, for Stanford to turn the ball over, I think Stanford and their coaches already said it. Stanford plays, which is interesting because their coach is predicated on offense. But again, as someone who covers the program, it's because their team is so void of like elite players right now that they want to push the tempo and they want to play fast, but they're one of the slowest playing teams in the country. And so their plan is to kind of keep the ball out of Colorado's hands, which means Shedeur can't pop off if he never has the ball. And so we saw it against Oregon, their first drive, which let me pull it up right here. Their first drive was 15 plays for nearly 8 minutes. And then their second drive was 13 plays for 6 minutes. And so Oregon barely touched the ball. By the time the second quarter had came around, they had kind of like, for the first part of the first quarter, I'd say Stanford was kind of keeping them off the field. And if they score touchdowns, maybe that's a different game, but they weren't able to finish those drives. But they're going to try to do the same thing with Colorado. Troy Taylor, the head coach, already said the key to slowing down Colorado's offense is making sure they don't have the ball, which, I mean, great point. Obviously, if Deion Sanders can't throw for 500 yards, if he's on the sidelines just waiting his turn. So prevent Stanford from running the ball, prevent them from milking the clock and kind of getting into these long drives, and just overall just prevent them from being comfortable and controlling the line of scrimmage, because that's where they will kind of get you. And then lastly, I would say capitalize on big plays. Stanford's defense is improving. I think it's hard to tell when you look at the scores of like the Oregon and USC game, but against a really good Arizona team, they held them to just 21 points. They forced a turnover, I believe. No, they didn't force a turnover. Well, I thought that was the Sacramento State game. Excuse me. But they were slowing down the Arizona receivers. Jaden DeLora only threw for 157 yards, went 14 of 26. Their best receiver had 8 catches for 85 yards, and then their other best receiver had 4 catches for 26. So capitalize on big plays, take the momentum out. Stanford's going to come in hungry. They're going to come in just like every team does against Colorado, wanting to beat Coach Prime, wanting to win a game, because obviously they've lost 4 straight. So they're a hungry team. And so Colorado could get some big plays going, kind of take the wind out of their sails and make life a lot easier for everyone else involved. By the way, speaking of making life easy, FanDuel, our partner of Locked On Buffs, is making life easy for all of you guys. If you guys want to get in on the action, let me tell you about FanDuel. Snap into this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is the official partner of our good friends over at the NFL. Welcome back. We were talking about Colorado football, Shilo Sanders to the NFL. It's kind of been a popular subject, but one that seems controversial in the Sanders household. Obviously, Coach Prime is very excited about what his team could be and what his program could be, and I think he envisions his sons helping him get there. And so, although Shedeur is a projected first-round pick, or even at worst a second-round pick this year, Coach Prime has already assured to his sons that they're not leaving Colorado just yet. There was a video probably about a month or so ago, it feels like. They were at a Broncos game. I think the Broncos were playing the Commanders, I want to say. And Shilo was talking about the NFL, and Deion, the father, the coach, the all-in-one, He goes, yeah, tell them what you said and tell them what we talked about. And so basically, long story short, Shilo was talking about him and Shedeur going to the NFL next year. And Coach Prime was like, no, you're not going to the NFL. You'll be back in Boulder. And so a video surfaced from Well Off Media recently. And so Coach Prime welcomed an Atlanta Falcons scout um, to observe drills in Boulder. And so they were talking about certain players, including his sons. And he encouraged he was basically telling the scout, he said, and I quote, "We're not coming back unless we bring both the Sanders boys to the A, both of them." That's what I'm saying. Hey, how do you feel about that? And so obviously, Coach Prime doesn't really get to pick where his sons go, but that would be a pretty cool experience to see Shedeur playing quarterback, Shilo playing safety for the Falcons, because obviously the Falcons, they currently have quarterback issues with Desmond Ridder. It's not what they were hoping for in the young quarterback, but they could be in the quarterback market. It just may or may not be this year or next year, and maybe next year rather than this year, even though the two sons they clearly want to go to the NFL. I think Coach Prime is just hoping to spend some more time together with his boys and kind of take advantage of the opportunity he has to coach them, because obviously you're not going to be able to, like, no father son duos or trios, I guess, is going to have an opportunity like this, and they only come around so often. And then once they go pro, who knows how often they'll be able to hang out. By the way, this episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by the Locked On Network, where we are doing a cool thing every Friday. College football season is here, and this season Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live at 11 a.m. Eastern. Every Locked On College YouTube channel On every Locked On College YouTube channel, College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. If you guys want to check it out, it'll be on my channel. And I'll also have a live stream after the game of tomorrow night between Stanford and Colorado, so you won't want to miss that either. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool that Coach Prime's kind of pushing for his sons to stay together. I don't know if any brother duos that I could think of have played together in the NFL. I'm trying to think. I don't really think there have been any. Someone get back to me on that. I feel like you guys would know, just because you have the time to Google it. Obviously, I'm doing a live show right now, so I don't have the time, but I feel like that'd be really cool to see two brothers going at it on the same team, hoping to lead the team to greatness. By the way, the team that drafted their father. So that'd be a great story in and of itself. So maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. But either way, if anyone can make it happen, I would say it's Coach Prime. You know who can make things happen for you is our sponsors over at LinkedIn. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. And this time where we're all trying to find the perfect candidate, I myself was a perfect candidate, in my opinion. I was looking for a job, went to LinkedIn, found a job at the Pac-12 Networks, got my first job out of college. It was amazing. Was able to see what they were looking for, was able to talk to the hiring manager, and it went swimmingly, as one would say. If you want to do the same and find the perfect candidate, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs to conclude this episode of Locked On Buffs, brought to you by myself, yours truly. We're going to talk about the Colorado key players for this game against Stanford. I think we're kind of in a point of the season where, one, Colorado has been battle tested, and two, they have a key 3-week stretch here that can kind of shape the rest of their season. They beat Arizona State. It was a tough win. It was an ugly win, as Coach Prime said, but it was a win. Now they come home. They play Stanford a week before the bye week, which Stanford is a team, like I said, better than their record indicates, but nonetheless, they're still one of the bottom teams in the Pac-12. So Colorado could escape these couple week stretch going 2-0, head into the bye week, get everybody healthy, and then prepare for what is going to be a gauntlet of a stretch with UCLA, Utah and Oregon State all on the horizon, and Arizona as well, who's a good team. So here are the key players and what Colorado needs, who Colorado needs to step up. One, and he steps up every game, Shedeur Sanders. This isn't to say that he's not stepping up. It's just the way this offense, the way this team is built is Shedeur Sanders needs big plays, big moments, big throws every single game. And without them, Colorado will struggle and they will lose. We saw it against Oregon. He had big moments against USC, but it was a little too late. I think the first half he was a little stagnant, but Oregon, they held him quiet and limited him. And that kind of eliminated Colorado. Two, I want to see Cormani McClain. I want to see him a lot. This Stanford team doesn't have any like breathtaking wide receivers. They have a good wide receiver who's a freshman in Tiger Bachmeier, and they have a good tight end and Benjamin Urasic, who's probably one of the best tight ends in the country, but his numbers don't indicate that because he's been having to be used as a blocker more so as a pass catcher, just because their offensive line struggles so much. But I want to see Cormani McClain get a lot of action because I think we're getting to the point of the year. Travis Hunter sounds like he's going to return. Even if he doesn't, he's going to be back for the UCLA game. I want to see the Cormani-Travis pairing. And so this is a good game to throw Cormani out there have him split a lot of reps with freshman Carter Stottmeyer because you're building for the future. So Carter and Cormani could end up forming one of the best cornerback duos in the country, but give Cormani a lot of shine. And then running backs. I think it's going to be Anthony Hankerson. I'm seeing a lot about Alton McCaskill, but again, I'll believe it when I see it. I need one of them to help take the pressure off Shedeur. Run the ball, kind of take the wind out of Stanford's sails. Obviously, they have this ability as an offense to just air it out whenever they want most of the time. But if you could run the ball, it makes life so much easier for everyone involved. Defensively, I need a pass rusher. This could be Levante Bentley. This could be Jawan Mitchell, who didn't play last week. But Levante Bentley kind of emerged and regained his starting role. And he wanted them to step up as a pass rusher. Maybe Derek McClendon. Someone needs to step up, get pressure on whether it's Ashton Daniels or Justin Lamson, the quarterbacks over at Stanford. Get pressure on them, make them uncomfortable, make their life difficult, and just hopefully, for Colorado's sake, kind of establish some confidence. And then the secondary, Shilo Sanders. Force a turnover, force a big play. He's prone to doing that, and I think he's another key player as well. And then this one, it kind of goes for a whole unit. And so I'm just going to shout out a whole unit right here. The offensive line. They've been playing meh. I gave them a grade yesterday. It wasn't great. I think the unit has a lot of room for improvement. I told you guys that I think at least 3 new starters will be part of this unit next year, whether it's from the transfer portal, recruits, whatever it may be. I think this offensive line is struggling, and I think they need to have a statement game themselves. And so, like I talked about earlier, blocking David Bailey, the Stanford linebacker / edge rusher, is a key to the game. I need this offensive line to step up and protect Shedeur Sanders. I think if they can kind of gain some confidence, maybe the coaching staff, maybe the fans, maybe myself will gain confidence in them, which will help them play better. Not that they need outside validation, but I think a lot of people forget that when you are an athlete at this level and social media is so prevalent, you hear the outside noise. You hear the people saying, oh, Colorado, they need this offense line to be better. That's the worst unit on the team. It's the worst unit on the team. And it gets to them. So I think they need that unit to step up. And I think this would be a good game to do it. Also, key, I don't know if this is so much as a key player, but key play calling, key moments, whatever you want to call it. This first half for Colorado needs to be a statement. They need to figure something out. They are so inferior to their opponents in the first quarter, first half. I don't know what it is. Arizona State, they scored 14 points. And then they ended up winning 13 to 24. But Arizona State was up by as many as, let's see. Oh, Arizona State didn't go up, but they were able to kind of contain them in the first half. And Colorado's a slow starting first half team. USC, they scored 14 points to Colorado, 0 in the first quarter. Oregon, obviously that was an ugly game. 13 points to Colorado, 0 in the first quarter. Then you go to Colorado State even. 14 points. Colorado matched with 14, but Colorado State kind of had the momentum. Nebraska held Colorado scoreless. TCU, I think this was their best first quarter showing. And they only had 1 touchdown. So Colorado needs to start strong. They are a for whatever reason, a slow starting team, and starting strong against the Stanford team, it's kind of what takes Stanford out of the game because they just don't have the leaders. They don't have the playmakers yet. They will eventually, but they don't have them yet to be like, okay, we're going to rally from this. So if Colorado could punch them in the face, it can not only take Stanford out of the game early, but it could finally cure their demons, exercise their demons of starting slow, which I think is going to eventually hurt Colorado. It is what it is. It's going to hurt them in the long run, whether it's one of their next few games or maybe it's this game. They need to start better than they have been. Otherwise, it's going to end up being a problem. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs today. As another great episode, another Thursday episode. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. You can check me out over at Athlon, where I'm writing about Colorado and the rest of the Pac-12 and Big 12. And I hope you guys have a great Thursday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. It's game day. Remember, Friday game day for Colorado this week.